What's going on, Fox Body fans and family? I figured I'd share a little story with you. I was going through some boxes around the house, and I found this picture. And it's going to be tough to see. It's a copy, and again with the lighting it might be really tough to see, but it's a photocopy of my '88 Mustang I had when I was in the Army. Saline body kit, ARE wheels, we did a whole bunch of work to it. And I loved that car. It was my dream car when I was a kid. And I want to share with you why I bought my '88 Mustang Fox Body and why I'm so happy to have it and excited that we've done well with the shows and stuff this year. Back when I bought that car in 1990, I want to say it was the beginning of 1993, but it might have been the end of 1992. Being in North Carolina, the weather's very different. In New England, we kind of use the temperatures to gauge, the seasons, right? We can talk about if it's cold. I bought it in winter, late fall. I really don't remember when I bought that. It was either late 92 or early 93. And I loved that car. I had it, I bought it from one of the sergeants that was in the company. He had a Nissan 300ZX and he had a Ninja as well as the Mustang. And he was getting ready to sell the Mustang. Had like 40 some odd thousand miles on it. It was an '88. This would have been 4 or 5 years old. It was like $5,000, right, which was awesome. I was able to go to the bank, get a quick loan, have the car. And having a car in the military back then was amazing. Like it kind of opened up a ton of avenues for you that let you go see some really cool stuff that you couldn't do otherwise. And every weekend I had a ton of folks out with me, and we always had a lot of fun. And we took the car back and forth from North Carolina back to Boston a bunch of times, and I really loved that car. It was my pride and joy. When I would get paid every month, we would go put money in the car all the time. We put a rear end into it. We did the audio system. After we got it home back up here, we did like an exhaust system. We had a ton of money into that car, and it was really fun. And that car was what really got me into like loving cars at the time. We'd always have fun, racing around the area. I always tell the story. I knew my wife was a keeper when our first date we ended up racing somebody in a Firebird. And she was not freaked out by it. And it was one of the faster cars around. I can remember very distinctly when I got the car. We had, in North Carolina, we had raced my buddy Scott at the time, who, geez, I haven't thought about in a long time. And he had a Formula Firebird 305 with a 5-speed. And that first race he got me, and I was like, okay. In the car that I had at the time, I want to say I had the 308 rear end and the LX, but it might have been the 273s. My current Mustang has the 273s. And it definitely hinders a car off the line with the automatic. And we put the 373 rear end, and that car was fast. It was really tough to beat. And when I got back home to Massachusetts, we only lost a couple of races. And the one was a built 383 stroker Monty SS. That thing was quick right off the line. I remember racing him, near Dedham, and that car just went, and it was quick. And I just remember, trying to say, okay, every time I would lose, I'd want to try to build the car up. And I remember we were at a light, and there was a guy that lived local that had a Ferrari Testarossa. We were at a light, and he was next to me, and just for the hell of it, I went for it. And we stayed with that Testarossa until like 75, 80 miles an hour. After that, he just walked us, right? That V12, I couldn't hang with that. My 220 horsepower automatic Mustang versus his 300 horsepower V12 Ferrari. I wasn't going to hang long term, but to stay off of the line, it was amazing, and I totally loved it, and it was such a cool feeling. And that car just was, again, it was a dream car for me. I've always wanted a Saline Fox Body. That had the full Saline body kit. It had the cool wheels on it. We got home. My uncle owned a shop. My cousin and I threw some Pirellis on that, which made the car handle well. We changed the alignment on it, right? So we towed it in. That car would just handle like crazy, and it was so much fun to drive. And that car in 1994, on my 21st birthday, when I got home from the Army, I was back in Rosendale, Massachusetts. I went to bed that night, came out, and the car was gone. And it sucked because I had all my CDs in it. I had a really nice Seiko watch that was given to me. I want to say for graduation. I had some of my birthday gifts in the car, so I was hugely disappointed. And I remember the car being found 3 days later in Dorchester, just stripped. And I remember going to look at it, and I was heartbroken. I loved that car. And I started looking for another Fox Body, and it was tough to find at the time for the right price. So I ended up buying an '87 Trans Am GTA that kind of went down this rabbit hole of buying shitty performance cars at the time, and it just wasn't a good car. I had a ton of issues with it. It was the 5.7, didn't have a ton of miles. I want to say it was like 50,000 miles on the car when I bought it, so it would have been 7 years old at 50,000 miles. I went through 2 flywheels on that car. Rear end blew up on me. Starters, like that car just was a nightmare. But it was a really cool car. It was white as well with the gold snowflake wheels. Not snowflake, but the lace wheels, whatever the term you want to use for them. But those wheels that were super common at the time, I just thought it was a really good looking car. And I had that car for a couple of years and had a lot of problems with it. I ended up just parking it and selling it for cheap money. I think I bought it for $7,500 and I sold it for like $1,500 a few years later. And then I would go on to have my Monty SS. You know, I bought a little Chevy Celebrity in between, but then I bought the Monty SS. And then after the Monty, that sat, you know, I drove that for a couple of years and it became my secondary car. Sat in my driveway for a while. I ended up giving that to my cousin Bobby, who ended up selling it for really cheap money. And that sucked because we had put a 350 in it. We had taken the 305 out. We had an issue with the motor. We actually put a rebuilt 350. It was a lot quicker. Those cars had 355 rear ends from the factory. They were pretty fun. But, you know, just kind of walking through that. You know, and then I kind of went through a little bit of a phase where I didn't have a second fun car. The Monty sat for a while. I probably had it in the driveway for 4 or 5 years before we ended up getting rid of it. And then we ended up, you know, having a regular everyday vehicle. I had you know, a Dodge Neon for a bit. I had a Dodge Dakota pickup, my first new car I ever bought. The Neon was like 1 or 2 years old. Had the Dakota, and then we ended up getting I ended up getting a 2002 Mustang GT, and that kind of got me right back into the hobby again. Then we had the 02, we had the 04. We had the 2012 Challenger. We had another 88 notchback that unfortunately was rusted. We couldn't do anything with. We had the 2012 Challenger. We had the 2017 Fiat 124 Spider. We had the 1993 Corvette. And then now we obviously have the 88 Mustang again. So we kind of went through the full circle, but it was really important for me to get back to this again. I think back to me as I was looking at the cars. There's a lot of cars I looked at. I was looking at some old T-Buckets, you know, that were a lot of fun. I looked at a really nice show truck. That was absolutely gorgeous, 1990 Chevy, full-size 1500. The guy had put a 496 stroker in it. I mean, this car was gorgeous, and it was within my budget. But it was a straight pipe exhaust, super loud. I'm like, I can't pull the trigger on this. Not for something I can't use regularly. So we started searching, and we were looking for 2 cars. My first car I almost bought was an '87 IROC Blue with T-tops, and I wanted that car, but I couldn't find one, or I couldn't afford it when I was younger. And you know, it was before I went in the military. I was really almost ready to pull the trigger, and this car ended up getting sold. It was a little car dealership in Brockton. I still remember it was on the corner near where my Uncle Danny lived, and I went and looked at it, and it was gorgeous, right? Blue, T-tops, 350 automatic, the rear window louvers, just an absolutely gorgeous car. And I really wanted one. So when I started saying, okay, I'm gonna look for a car again, I wanted to look for a classic car. They were outside of my budget. So I said, let me go in and look and see what I can find. And what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to, you know, I'm gonna go look and find the right car that I want. So it was either gonna be a blue '87 IROC with T-tops with the 350, or it was gonna be a white hatchback Mustang. It didn't have to be, and it was gonna be an '88. It didn't have to be an LX or a GT. It was either one was fine. So we started doing some research, and we found this GT out in Illinois. A friend of mine, Kevin, had his buddy go take a look at it for me. So thank you so much for, you know, doing that inspection. So I felt better about it. But I really just want to share the story of how this whole thing came full circle for me and the passion that I have for these cars. You know, I grew up loving cars, and it was just cool to have all that. I always wanted an older car. You know, when my family grew up, we grew up around cars. My Uncle Bobby would bring some up from down south. My Uncle Danny always had really nice Grand Prix. My Uncle Bobby had GTOs and Impala SS's and all these cool cars. And I remember at 15, they started bringing cars up from down south, and I was trying to save money to get one, because I remember at one point in time in the driveway, there was a 72 Chevelle. Wasn't an SS, but it was a 72 Chevelle Malibu with a 350 yellow. I love that car. A 67 Cutlass. It was red. It was pretty. They had the 64 or 63 Impala SS. They had a 78 or 79 Ford F-150 with a 390. That truck was badass. Had a little lift. It was that emerald green. And I just remember looking at all these cars when I would go over, and I'm like, I gotta save up enough money to buy one of these, and I wasn't able to. But I've always had that passion around cars. So I just want to share with you, like I said, I found the picture in the box the other day. I don't have any photos. What sucks is when the car got stolen, my insurance was still in North Carolina, and they were kind of fighting me around, you know, giving me the money that the car deserved, because we had put a lot of money into the car. So I had to send the photos I had, because they needed different angles. And at the time, I made a photocopy of a few pictures. That's literally the only photocopy I have left of that first Mustang I have. I have no pictures. But it brought back the memory for you, and I wanted to share why we have the Mustang that we have today, and why we're excited to have it, and why I was excited to get the best low mileage version I could. And truly the joy it brings me to go out and drive that car, it really does bring me back to that different time or place when I was, you know, 19 years old. So I'm incredibly grateful. So I just wanted to share with you, if that's something you're passionate on and you love cars, you know, try to, if you can do it, try to save the money, get what you had. That memory you have will stay with you for a long time. Now, I'm in a really weird place, right? I'm getting ready to put the car away in about a little over a week. I've got another week with the car. It's supposed to rain. I'm hoping I can get 1 or 2 more nice days in just to get a nice ride in before we put it away for the winter. We did find a heated storage place. I have a garage, but my garage isn't heated. And a car like that deserves to be in a heated place with a battery tender. You know, we're going to put some fuel stabilizer in to put it away for the winter. But I'm torn as what to do. The car is very low mileage, and the car's value is in the low mileage, and I do love the car. But I'm torn on next spring. Do I end up selling that car and putting a little bit more money? Usually in the spring I'll get my bonus from work, and typically I have some stock that comes available that I can cash. And do I take the money from that and put it towards my dream car, which would be a 69 Chevelle SS or a 65 or 66 Mustang Fastback, and really get the old classic car I've always wanted? Or do I continue to live the dream I've had with this 88? Because I am concerned if I get rid of it, I'm gonna have that regret that I've always had since I've lost the other 88. So it'll be an interesting winter to see which direction we go, but I will be happy to share it with you. I will share with you when we put the car away for the winter what that looks like as well. But we appreciate you checking out the channel. We wanted to give you some really cool content this year. We hope you enjoyed all the stuff we had from all the cruise nights, all the car shows, the Jeep shows. It's been a really fun season this year. I'm super proud that, like I said, the Mustang went to 3 shows, took 3 trophies, so that was very cool. So thanks for checking out the channel. If you haven't done so far, please hit the like and subscribe button. I would also ask underneath, put in the comments your first car, and maybe the one car you regret that you don't have anymore, that if you could get back, you always would want to. Thanks for checking us out. You have a great day.